All right, here we go. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks a lot for joining us for this session on safer, smarter seas and skies. Have a fantastic panel with us, actually, to discuss this. Technology vendors, port, airport, so it's a really good mix and a good variety of perspectives as well. I'm going to let these guys introduce themselves, because I think we're probably all capable of doing that. John, go ahead.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for letting me join you on the panel today, folks. And my name is John Bernard. I am the head of strategy and innovation for Idemia's North American Travel and Transportation Division. If you haven't heard of Idemia, I'm not surprised. I hadn't either before I started the interview process with us. But we like to joke that we are the farthest reaching technology company nobody's ever heard of. And I would actually wager a bet that every one of you here in the audience probably has some of our technology on your person right now. We produce about 70% of the driver's licenses in the US. We also produce chip-enabled cards for most of the top banks around the world. We provide services and solutions for federal, state, local programs as diverse as enrollments for TSA PreCheck, which you can do right outside if you'd like to and don't have that service yet, as well as state and local licensing around different professions across a variety of locations in the country. We're global. We have been an identity leader and biometrics leader for years now. We have about 1,500 patents in the space, and we play in the travel and transportation space pretty heavily with biometrics and identity solutions, enabling everything from passage through security checkpoints to biometric entry and exit from countries, and a whole host of other activities. So really happy to be here speaking with you all today and talking about how technology like identity and biometrics can feed into empowering and enabling smart cities, smart airports, and smart ports.
Heidi, over to you.
Good afternoon. My name is Hydi Webb. I am the director of the Port of Miami. It's an honor to be on this stage with my fellow colleagues here to discuss smart technology at seaports. So the Port of Miami is the second largest economic engine here in Miami-Dade County, followed by the airport, which you'll hear from Ralph in a minute. There's two sides to our industry. There's the cruise business and there's the cargo business. Both of them thrive on smart technology. We would not be where we are as a seaport today without the technology that enables us to move so many cruise passengers through our facilities, have the security enhancements throughout our facilities to process the passengers and the cargo. We have three private cargo yards at the port. Each one of them have ventured into, with us, patterns and processes of innovation, truck technology, gate technology, yard enhancement technology, all to make us a bigger, smarter, and safer port. So I look forward to diving into those details with you, but in a nutshell, it's the Port of Miami.
Perfect. Ralph.
Thank you, Heidi. Ralph Cutié, I'm the director of the Miami-Dade Aviation Department. We are the #1 economic engine for Miami-Dade County, representing about 275,000 jobs and a $32 billion annual economic impact to the county. We are also obviously highly dependent on both passenger volume and cargo movement. We are currently the #1 airport in the United States for international passengers and the #10 airport in the States for total passengers. In cargo, we're the #1 airport in the United States for international freight and the #9 airport in the world for international freight. So obviously we're extremely busy, and one of the backbones of our operation is, as Heidi mentioned at the seaport, sustainability, smart airport technology, and we have numerous initiatives along those lines that I'm sure we'll get into much deeper later. But those are really the cutting edge stuff, the cutting edge items that we're moving forward on to be able to make our operation more efficient, more customer friendly, et cetera. So I look forward to the discussion.
Awesome. Thank you all very much. So basically what we're going to do here is just have a conversation, which I think is probably the best way of going about it. What we want to cover is how you guys are making what you do smarter and safer. And where we'll start is on that smart side and how we now break that down. Because smart is no longer just the use and implementation of technology into different services and what you provide, but it has to be sustainable, it has to be equitable. You have to think about energy, you have to think about renewables. Where do you start? Ralph, I'll come to you first on that.
Okay. Well, I will tell you, just since you mentioned where we started, I'll tell you where we've been over the last 17 years. So we've been an industry leader working with FPL services in the realm of sustainability at the airport. We've had approximately 7 different energy saving and conservation initiatives at the airport, what we call ESCO contracts, working with FPL, where we have replaced pretty much both in our terminals and in our cargo facilities, all of our lighting with energy efficient LED lighting, all of our HVA systems with the latest technology in chiller plants, high energy efficiency chiller plants. When it comes to water conservation, we have all of our restrooms, et cetera, and some of our other water facilities are high efficiency, so we save, just to give you an idea, in the latest phase that we completed back a couple of years ago, we save approximately $3.2 million every year and a total guaranteed of $60 million over a 15-year buyback period for that latest ESCO contract. That equates to about 10% of the annual electrical costs at the airport. So that's the amount of savings we get just from that, just from the sustainability perspective. And then obviously we can get into later some of the smart technology that we're pursuing for our customer experience. Biometric boarding, which we're moving forward with. We've recently completed in 2020 a simplified arrival technology process where passengers come in on international flights and they're cleared through customs using that technology in about 10 seconds with their pictures taken through our simplified arrival process. So, a lot of exciting things going on, and it's very timely considering the number of passengers that we're getting right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Heidi, from your perspective, I imagine that resonates pretty thoroughly, probably. What are your current priorities that you have at the port at the moment, and how does that fit into the smarter, safer, in your case, C's kind of,
So smarter, safer, sustainable, all keywords in all of our industries here. Ralph just talked about passengers, so I'll take a little turn and I'll talk about maybe about cargo.
Yep.
The Port of Miami is ranked number 11 for cargo in the U.S., and however, we were just ranked number 1 for efficiency. So how do you become an efficient port on an island, right? We have no space to grow. We either grow up, but it's all about technology, innovation, and mechanics. So we have 3 cargo yards at the port, and all of them, in conjunction and partnership with the county, have really invested in some of the facilities. For sake of time, I'll just give you an example with South Florida Container Terminal, because we just finished phase 1 of really smart technology and new gate facilities. SFCT, we've come in a partnership for modernization of their gate facilities. And what that means is, how do you move trucks, containers, volumes through our port efficiently without having any backups, not only on the seaport, but throughout the complete supply chain? So I'll just give you a couple of quick examples. We, the port, have purchased RFIDs, which are sort of like a truck driver purchases an RFD from us. It's sort of like a SunPass, and it links their tag to the gate operating system. So once a truck goes through the gate, it automatically is going to know where their container is. And it saves time, it saves backups throughout the whole entire supply chain process. Another example is appointment systems. So we are able to make appointment systems. A trucker is able to log in, sign up for a time, track the ship that their container is coming in on, find out where the container exactly is, and pick it up and move through the system. In addition to that, we also have scales as part of our truck gates now. So a truck driver, as they come through this particular gate, just seamlessly drives through it, where in the past they would have to pull over, create other lines, get a paper printout, and instead this is all managed electronically, a lot more smarter and safer. Smarter and safer is the way to go. Also, the equipment that we put in this yard, ERTGs, electric equipment, talking about sustainability, is able to move the containers around more efficiently and more safely. We also have about 1,400 different smart cameras throughout the port, and these cameras allow us to connect certain locations to our webcam, where you can go onto our website and truckers can see if there's any backups. We can manage our traffic more safely and securely as well. The tunnel. We would not be where we are today at the Port of Miami without the tunnel, right? It's the second way of egress in and out of the port. The tunnel is able to smartly give messages to the truckers and to passengers before they come to the port throughout the highway systems. If there's any backups, it connects to Waze, it connects to Google Maps. And just the technology has become so advanced and is really a key to our growth.
And finally, John, from a technology perspective then, what are you seeing at the moment from your on this panel, unique viewpoint that's really driving change to become smarter, safer in this context?
Yeah, absolutely. Hydi and Ralph touched on some of the ideas and some of the things that we're already seeing in this industry, but some folks are probably asking, why is someone from an identity management biometrics provider talking on a panel where a key topic is sustainability? And the reality is airports and ports are systems of systems, and they're highly complex. When Hydi touched on the need to get truck drivers through the port more quickly and also know where they are, that comes into knowing who that person is, that they should be allowed into that place, and the access control systems that we and others work on, along with things like RFIDs, other forms of tracking those individuals, making sure they're in the right place at the right time, go a long way to improving that, especially when you combine it with interoperability to logistics management systems and things like that. So, we're seeing the same thing on the airport side as well. We are the provider for TSA's credential authentication machines at security checkpoints. And some of you may have come through airports on your way here for this conference where, you only had to hand your driver's license to the agent or even swipe it yourself, smile for a picture, and then go. That's our systems, looking at your ID, authenticating it, matching the picture, and you can move forward. You can start to imagine these types of capabilities as you expand them, as you validate the technology behind it, can start to move to systems where maybe you have one transportation security officer working across multiple checkpoint lanes, right? Now your footprint for the checkpoint can get smaller because you don't need the long lines and all that space that you devote to that today, which has an impact on the overall sustainability of your airport. Similar things with biometric entry and exit, which you both, I think, have mentioned and both use. And as you continue to extrapolate that further to the interoperability piece, we are dealing with systems and legacy systems today that historically have grown up in silos. But as we start to make some of these investments in new technology, if we do it wisely, and you are able to get from the security checkpoint from the TSA, hey, this passenger crossed the security checkpoint, I know they're going to get onto my flight on time. Now as an airline, I can start to better plan around that, and I can reduce the delay impacts, which again plays straight into sustainability, because delays on the airline side typically result in an aircraft sitting off gate with its engines running, not going anywhere. So there's lots of opportunity. We're seeing a lot of really cool things happen in the industry right now. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening. I was at a conference last week and heard a speaker from Delta Airlines coin the term the walking speed airport as their goal, where you can start to imagine passing through an airport, passing through a port without ever breaking stride because you've elected to opt into using some of these technologies. And as more people continue to do that, we'll see those benefits trickle down with the folks that have reservations with engaging in the new technology as well, because the traditional lines are going to get shorter. So there's a lot of opportunity, and it's a really exciting time.
100%. I mean, I want to come back to one of the things that you said around system of systems and broaden this out to systems thinking and how you guys kind of approach that. So obviously, Ralph, Hydi, you are part of the county level government, right? So in terms of working with city government, state government, and how what your strategies are trying to achieve fit into the strategies at those wider levels, what kind of processes do you need to go through, and what kind of working relationships do you need to have to make sure that you're all pulling in the same direction? Whoever wants it.
Yeah, so it is a wide range of entities, parties that participate in these programs together. From the port side, we, the port, the county, like to partner with our customers and invest in the facilities. We also go after a lot of grant money from the state and also from Washington to try to enhance the technology. And never has there been such an amazing opportunity as there is right now for all these grant funds. So as we're partnering with our lines, it's really become like a true P3. There's obviously, competitive processes that the county, Ralph is in a similar situation where we always go through, which is nice. It's an open competitive. We get to learn about the different technology and products that are out there. But it really is a true partnership. On the seaport side, not only is it us, but it's also the government agencies like CBP, Coast Guard, USDA. We all integrate our systems together, which is very important for the productivity and the efficiency of running a port.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head. The number one thing is relationships. The relationships we enjoy with, for example, TSA, CBP, our federal partners at the FAA, our state partners. As Hydi mentioned, we go after grant money all the time, both from the state and from the FAA, and we're usually pretty successful in getting it. But a lot of that is just relationships that have been established over a period of time, and then the results we get by implementing the projects. Obviously, as a county department, as the seaport and the airport, we both are, we have procurement procedures we have to comply with. Sometimes those can be somewhat cumbersome, but that's what we have to deal with it. But the good news is that once those projects get going, I mean, the amount of goodwill and the amount of credibility that we build up with these funding agencies helps us continue to get future funding as we move forward for some of our projects. As I mentioned, the biometric technology is a good example. We just got that approved by our Board of County Commissioners after quite a few months during a procurement process, but that's going to be a game changer for us. I mean, we're going to be able to take all of our 130 gates and have biometric boarding on all 130 of our gates, which will significantly increase our efficiency moving through our checkpoints, getting our passengers through our gates. And again, that's a relationship that is based on the relationships we share with our procurement folks, our federal funding agencies that get us the money to do these things, our airline partners that pay for a lot of the projects that we do. So I think that's really the takeaway. It's all about those relationships.
Absolutely. And John, from your side, as an organization that's trying to get this technology into these places, what's the approach like there? And hearing the responses from Hydi and Ralph there, what do you take away from that in terms of what Idemia can do to position themselves to be better off in these negotiations?
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, it truly is a system of systems, and kind of when you touch air travel, when you touch travel in general, ports, cargo movement, there are so many different stakeholders and players that get involved, and we touched on the human side of that and the need for the human engagement, human collaboration, the relationships that requires. There's also the technological side of that, right? We kind of shorthand that as interoperability much of the time, but sometimes that's too shorthanded because there's so much work that goes into making that possible. And with regards to the vendor role in that, it's on us to help make sure that our systems are interoperable, that we're working across industry so that the investments that you guys get, right now is a unique time, that's great. We need to make sure that money is going to be, useful in 5 years and 10 years, that we're not developing systems that end up stovepipe like our past systems have. And I think everyone's gotten smarter, and you guys are making obviously very smart investments in that space. We've all learned from the past examples, but it's incumbent on vendors, it's incumbent on the different organizations, logistics hubs, ports, airports, cities, to be involved, to be engaged, to be driving the conversation on interoperability so that we can take advantage of these things.
100%. What do you think that cities and city departments that run operations like ports and airports, what can those teams learn from one another in terms of the approach? We've heard from so many cities on this stage today, and I just wonder whether your approach is slightly different and whether there are lessons that can be learned, and vice versa as well.
I definitely think there's lessons to be learned. You alluded to earlier that technology changes very quickly, right? So I'll just give you a quick example. We all travel, how you process through an airport when you come in international. Well, let's think about a cruise passenger. A cruise passenger now, when they come to the Port of Miami, on their return back into the U.S., we have facial recognition, biometrics. So when a passenger embarks to go on a cruise, they check in and their pictures are uploaded. By the time a cruise ship gets back, CBP has a full assessment on everybody that's on that ship and if they need to see or speak to somebody. So our cruise terminals now have facial recognition where a passenger literally walks by, it recognizes their face, and within seconds you either get a green light or a red light. If you get a green light, you're clear to go, and if you get a red light, you have to go to secondary. That type of technology did not exist, more than 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. You went up to your typical CBP officer, you showed your passport. you at the airport, and you also
Yes.
have experience maybe
Sure.
with stages in between there, but we at the seaport were a little bit further behind just because more passengers go through an airport, but yet we got to a later technology. So it's really keeping up with all of the technology that's out there, timing it for when you're going to get your funding and when you're going to implement it to really get the latest that's out there.
Absolutely. Do you think that... excuse me. Excuse me. Do you think that when we consider, obviously we've got the port, we've got the airport here, there's two different sides to this. You've got customer-facing side, where the technology and the safety is going into making that experience better and better all the time. And on the port side, obviously you have that element when it comes to cruises and things like that, but it's also an enormous logistics hub. What is like the most important thing that each of you can do moving forwards to be able to really improve those experiences?
Go ahead. To us, the number one thing that we need to do actually is two things. Number one is customer engagement and listen to our customers. So that's one thing that maybe other airports don't do. We take our customer feedback extremely seriously, do surveys all the time. So that's the first thing. Second of all is we go ahead and implement our technology solutions based on that. As an example, we recently have had a rash of issues with our conveyance systems, et cetera. A lot of airports have similar situations because of just the maintenance cycles, how long it takes. So we're currently exploring an Internet of Things solution as a pilot program where all of our units, and we have more than half of the conveyance units in the entire county are at MIA at the airport. So like, think about the size of the operation. So, we have an outdated procedure now for doing it. We're looking at an Internet of Things solution whereby all of the units would not only talk to each other electronically, but also reach out to the vendors and to our operations control people when units are down, when they need to be maintained. That alone would just improve the efficiency as far as moving through our airport, the customer experience where people are not getting delayed, gates are not down because escalators are down, that kind of thing. So those are solutions where we're applying technology based on a customer service related concern that's been raised. So it's a matter of marrying the two things together. The feedback we get from our customers along with the latest solutions.
And Heidi, from your side?
I think actually, Ralph, you're spot on there. It's really, educating yourself on what's out there, what's the latest, and hearing what your customers want. And our customers, we have the benefit of both of us, right? That our customers are international, so they travel, they're worldly, and they see technology not only that's here, that's in the U.S., but throughout, and really to know what's one step ahead and be there, that's the key. The relationships and speaking to your customers. A cruise ship is on the water, it can sail anywhere. And there's other ports, there's other competitions that are out there, but it's those relationships and listening to what they want, how we can process their passengers, what their experiences that they want their passengers to go through really is key to us. And we design our facilities in partnership with our cruise lines to tailor those. And they each are different, right? Everybody has different things that they're looking for. So it's really partnerships and listening and knowing what's out there.
So then from that feedback, how does that help to shape what a company like Idemia does in terms of creating new solutions to existing problems or updating solutions that, as Ralph said, are beginning to become outdated?
Yeah, no, I mean, it plays in really nicely, and I'm frankly, as a frequent traveler, glad to hear both of you say, the customer perspective, because at the end of the day, that plays into what we do as well, right? So much of, I talked about interoperability, and this is kind of another flavor of it in terms of when we're providing solutions to ports, to airports, to cities, to, name a facility, there's a certain degree of interoperability that people need to, as users of those systems, be able to expect. So, you touched on the international travelers. As someone that has been fortunate enough to do that a fair bit in my life, I think anyone that has can attest to the experience and the differences of traveling at an international airport versus an airport in the U.S. and how that can vary so dramatically. And you don't necessarily know what the experience is going to entail when you step off the airplane. That creates little points of friction throughout the process that, from a provider standpoint, we need to start working past. So it's not just interoperability of the systems from a technology perspective, from a policy perspective, but also how those things are then utilized by our customers who, are the ports, the airports, others, to actually provide a unified kind of global customer experience that is easy to interpret, easy to interact with, and helps us achieve the goals that we're trying to get to.
Yeah, for sure. We have 34, 3, 2 seconds left. And in that time, I guess you have 10 seconds each. I just want to hear from each of you one takeaway from this session that you think you can go away with and that can help you or help our audience do something better. This wasn't rehearsed.
Yeah, no. I've enjoyed going at the end, actually. So I would say the one takeaway I would just have folks kind of come away with from this, where we can do things better, is really on the interoperability piece and the education piece. Technology is evolving so rapidly. There are so many changes coming in this industry and others. We really do need to continue the conversations, the dialogues across customers, vendors, regulators, all the various stakeholders that come into play, and there are hundreds in this space. Because at the end of the day, if we can't get to those conversations and have the real dialogue around it, we're not going to get to the solutions we want.
Hydi?
Actually, I think you're spot on there. I'll just expand it a little bit more. I think it's all important to understand our respective angles and what each partner is looking for when they go out there and look at smart technology. You know, it's nice to get, you know, the greatest thing that's out there, but if it doesn't meet your customer's needs, then you know what, it's not the greatest thing. So I actually look forward to engaging with everybody out here, walking around the expo, hearing what your expertises are, and really, you know, trying to find matches where we all can partner together.
I think I couldn't say it better. Listen to your stakeholders. Listen to your partners. In our case, it's airlines. In Heidi's case, it's cruise lines. Listen to your passengers. Listen to your customers. And then, based on that, make your decisions. Again, technology is great, but at the end of the day, if it's not matched to what your customers want, it's not going to get you there. So I think that's the number one takeaways. You need to have your finger on the pulse of what your customers need and what they want.
100%. I think, you know, that the time for solutions that don't have problems is long gone. And the pandemic absolutely put paid to that. I think it's really encouraging to hear from each of you just how much your work is impacted and shaped by what people, whether it's your partners, your customers, by what people actually want. That is all we have time for. But thank you very much indeed for taking the time out. It's been an absolute pleasure. And if anyone has any questions, come on down. And I guess we'll get through as many as we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.